Hey guys, I am Dani with Summer Skye Gardens and welcome back to my channel. So here we are at the beginning of November, and I figured today's video I would show you around the farm and kind of what all is happening, what all I've been working on, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot still left to do. And I thought it would be fun to kind of go through an update on how things look and what all we're planning for this next year, because it's going to be super amazing. So let's head out into the different parts of the farm and the field, and then I'll come back in and kind of show you inside the grow room and show you all the seedlings that are growing, and could just kind of give you an update on how everything is going. Now, first thing real quick, if you're new to my channel, I am a flower farmer in the northern part of the Houston area in South Texas. Technically, my zone is 9A, so we have really long, hot, dry summers. This year was particularly brutal. And then, you know, somewhat mild winters. We will get an occasional frost, maybe one or two actual freezes, but overall a pretty mild winter. So it's a really good time to plant stuff down here. It's now starting to cool off. Today it's actually somewhat cold. It's in the 40s right now. It dropped into the 30s last night. Luckily everything out here looks fine. I didn't have to, you know, cover up anything at all. We'll go out to the field and I can show you like the sunflowers and zinnias and things, but this is kind of when we really want to get a head start on spring flowers. So when you have a mild winter, you live in the South like me, you can start fall planting a lot of your cool flowers, and that gives you a head start on the spring season, which usually ends up being on the shorter side because it starts to warm up pretty quickly for us and get hot sooner than people on the north side. So if you find this helpful, if you like what I'm sharing, please like this video, comment, subscribe to my channel. I just hit 1,000 subscribers not that long ago, so I'm really trying to grow my channel and reach more people out there, especially people in a southern climate that are trying to grow flowers or grow, you know, vegetables and things in their backyard. That's kind of who I'm trying to reach, but anyone and everyone is welcome. So thank you guys for tuning in, and let's start making the rounds. All right, so up in here in this kind of like large garden bed, we're right outside the back of the house. This is where I have been growing all my heirloom chrysanthemums over the summer. I also had a few dahlias here. I have a couple of eucalyptus plants. The eucalyptus look great. The dahlias are toast. Totally not going to be growing those anymore. It's just way too hot and humid where I live to mess with those. But the mums look awesome. They are all budding up. I actually probably need to move them into the sun a little more. I had them out here over the summer because it was just so hot that if I put them in full sun, which they typically like, they were wilting and were not loving life. So I moved them to this area where they get a little bit of filtered sun throughout the day, you know, lots of shade during the summer, and they were really happy with that. Now that the weather is cooling off, they would probably enjoy more of a full sun. So I'll probably be doing that in the next couple of days, but let me give you a little bit of tour here and show you how they look. So here's kind of the general area, and I use this area because of the sun and shade issue. Also, it's right offside the house. There's a hose right here, so I could get to them really easily, keep them nice and watered, keep them fertilized. So real quick, these are a couple of my eucalyptus plants that made it through the summer. I'll probably bring them indoors once it starts to get really cold outside and starts freezing. But here's some of the mums. Now, one thing I learned is I tried to stake them with bamboo, and that worked for a little while. But then a lot of the stems started falling over, and I know most people grow them with nets. So I think next year I am going to move them out into the field. I'm going to net them, and then I can just, you know, shade them if they start to get too hot. But you can see where they're all budding up. Oreo, would you stop running? Stop running through the mums. Kitties like to come out here and play. buds. Let's see. Yeah, have some buds here. So far, the main one that has bloomed has been French vanilla, but the blooms had some browning on them, which I read was heat stress. So I think that's just from the brutal summer that we had, and not much I can do about that. So I'm interested to see, now that it's cooling off, the other buds, are they going to look like that or not? But yeah, they all, I mean, they grew really, really nicely. They're all budding up. Typically, you know, where we are with the weather, they'll bloom mostly in November and into December. And then you cut them back and overwinter them. Here's another one. So I have a lot of different varieties that I'm growing this year to kind of test them out, and whichever ones kind of do the best, I'll continue on and probably take cuttings next year to multiply my stock. Most of these I got from either King's Mums, 3 Porch Farm, or Wildrye Farm. So those are all really good suppliers of mum cuttings, which you typically get in like late spring, early summer. So very excited to see how these continue to bloom. And I think these are a really good alternative to dahlias in our climate. They have a spectacular vase life. They come in all different kind of like shapes and colors and are much happier in our climate than the dahlias. All right, so here in this area, we're kind of on the side of the property by the side entrance right here. I tilled these really big areas behind me to be a wildflower area for people to be able to come take pictures, do photography with their families, and just kind of enjoy, you know, that kind of look and that part of nature. It's got a nice tree line behind it. I just came out and planted wildflower seeds and bluebonnet seeds. The bluebonnets are starting to germinate and grow. I'm kind of keeping them in a clump back here, and then they'll kind of be intermixed with the wildflower mix. But the wildflower mixes are mostly just native, you know, wildflowers that grow in the Texas area anyways, and they're easy to grow. You pretty much toss them out, stamp them into the dirt. I ran over them with the tractor here. And just kind of let them do their thing. I'm going to give them a little bit of water today just because it hasn't rained in a little bit since I planted them. But typically over the winter, you don't have to water them. You don't really do a whole lot with them. They just kind of grow on their own. But I think this will be really, really pretty come spring. And it'll also be a great way to kind of give back to the wildlife. All of the native, you know, insects, pollinators, birds, things like that can come enjoy this area. And we really won't be cutting out of this area either. And then it'll just, once stuff starts to die in the summer, it'll reseed itself. And then I really shouldn't have to come back and plant new seeds for the next year. So really excited to see how this looks. I think it's going to be beautiful. And I'll keep you guys updated. So here is the area. So I have one section in the front, one section in the back, so people can kind of walk in between. I was thinking over here in this larger area about putting in like a table and chairs, or maybe like a little arbor. I thought would be pretty. And then it kind of goes there to the fence line. Let's walk up closer and I'll show you some of the blue bonnets that are sprouting. So if you get really close here, you can see these are blue bonnets, and they are all shooting up here. Now the trick is going to be, can they grow enough before the grass outgrows them? I think they should be fine since I had to till up the grass, but so far so good. Just got to keep an eye on them, but they are all starting to sprout, and the wildflowers, the other wildflowers should be popping up soon. Okay, so here we are a little further into the property, and you can see behind me, this is going to be the new large production field. It's not super wide, but it's very long, so I'm going to split it up into a few different sections. So what I did, this was all grass and weeds. I came through and tilled it up a couple of times, and then I added amendments based on my soil test. I had to put a bunch of lime in because it was pretty acidic. And then I added like a general purpose fertilizer with some extra phosphorus and potassium. And then I came in and then just laid a layer of compost on top with the tractor. So it is all prepped. Probably just need to kind of smooth it out a bit more. And then I will be coming in and setting up drip irrigation and landscape fabric once I get that prepped. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks I can start planting some stuff out here. So this is kind of right in between. Right here is our Upic Field, and then right next to me you can see this bar right here. This is the cooler and storage shed, so I feel like having it be right here next to the cooler is going to be very helpful on, you know, being able to store stuff in the cooler pretty quickly. You're not having to walk quite as far, and I feel like it's a really good use of this space back here. Now this little field behind me, this is going to be another production field. This is mainly going to be used for perennials and any kind of like bulbs or corms that I want to directly plant. You can see in the beds, there's not going to be any landscape fabric like there will on the other side. I just have landscape fabric in the walkways, and that's because I want to be able to directly plant in this area and turn it over pretty quickly, but also have some space for perennials that are going to stay here over time. So what I need to do is I already amended the soil, but I need to come in and spread out this compost like I did on the other field and then start planting. It's not a huge space, but it's about 5 rows of 50 feet, so you can fit a good size amount of stuff here. There's a water connection right here, so I just have to set up, once I get this spread out, I just have to set up the drip irrigation, and then I'm ready to plant. So I'll be growing out here the anemones, ranunculus, tulips and lilies are going to go in crates. Oh yeah, and daffodils. So those are going to be directly planted here. I'm also growing by seed some of my perennials, the salvia, bee balm, lemon mint, mountain mint, and yarrow. So anything like that that I can grow from seed, I'll be planting out here. I can kind of build up that stock over time. And then I think what I'm going to do is some of the stuff that I want to direct seed, since this one is very close to being ready before my big field, I'm going to come in here and direct sow some bells of Ireland, bupleurum, maybe some larkspur, and some of the dill, Ami, and Queen Anne's lace. So those all do really well being direct sown. I'm going to see if I can get some of those in here sooner rather than later. And then once this field is up and running, probably come over here and direct sow some as well. So right here behind me is one of the storage sheds that came with the property. It had an AC unit already hooked inside, so I've attached my CoolBot. I did get it up and running for a couple days and then it frosted over. So that tells me it needs to be insulated more, or, you know, I need to figure out some other ways to drop the temperature down. I need to get this figured out sooner, because once I start getting my tulip shipment or my lilies, they're going to be kept in here along with just any other kind of like cut flowers. So I really need this to be running over the winter, but let me show you what it looks like inside. Let's go open up the door here and turn on the light. So I got these crates from a local Michoacano, which was awesome. They're used to hold produce, but that's what I'm going to be growing my tulips and lilies in, to succession plant. We've got some storage, got all my buckets, but over here is the AC unit, and you can see the CoolBot is attached, and the CoolBot has worked great. This AC unit is kind of older, so I'm not sure if that's the issue, although it did get up and running very easily. But you can also see the inside of the shed is just like wood siding. So I'm thinking what I need to do is come in and lay down some insulation, which shouldn't be super hard to do, just a little tedious. I need to measure and then go pick it all up from like Home Depot, and then try that out once I get the insulation in, see if that makes a difference on keeping this shed really cool. You can see right now it's 47, which is great, but next week we have highs in the 80s. So we've got to be able to keep this shed usually around like 40, 42 degrees. So let's walk over here to the Upic Field and I'll show you how things look. I'm not going to bring the tripod. I don't want to carry it all the way over here, but so the Upic Field, I ended up not opening up to the public this fall just because with the summer we had and with the issue with my well, is an older well and it had so much sand in it, and it took me a while to get that figured out and to get it fixed. So I had a hard time irrigating out here. I had to come out and hand water, and when you don't get rain for a couple of months, it's just real, and you have sandy soil, it's just really hard to keep everything wet and happy, especially when it's almost like 110 degrees outside. So I did have a lot of stuff grow very well, but it just wasn't as full and as lush as I would want it to be to open to the public. So as much as that really bummed me out, I think it was the right decision. It will be a lot easier to get this really lovely and full looking for the spring. And then I've learned, a couple of lessons on what to do, what not to do for next year, for later in the year. But the stuff that's blooming is beautiful. I've been able to sell it around the community, and I've started selling to some florists, so that's exciting. But let me kind of walk you through and show you how things look, because this will probably start dying down by December. So here's kind of a general pan. So I had all these sunflowers here. I ran out of plants, so I covered this bed to be like a larger walkway. Had more sunflowers here. Did the same with this bed. And then over here was like a bunch of zinnias, some amaranth, marigolds, cosmos, and I think a couple other things. And then that large area there was going to be part of the Upic, but I just ran out of flowers because it was just so hard to get things to germinate out here. So I just left that open, and what I did right now is I came in and I threw down some winter rye seed to kind of act as a green compost over the winter, and then I will till it in once it comes time to set this back up for the springtime. And then as this stuff starts to die back, I will put some winter rye in all this area too. So here is the area that I put the rye in, and you can see that it's sprouting. So this is like a winter hardy, so it will grow through the winter, and then before it sets seed, I will come in and till it in, and it'll just add, number one, over the winter, you don't want to leave soil bare, so it'll kind of keep the integrity of the soil. It'll feed microorganisms in the soil, maintain moisture, maintain, the structure of the soil, and then when I till it in, it'll kind of act as a compost into the soil. So let's go over here. We can see some of the zinnias. So there was an exceptionally large amaranth that fell over. Oh, a monarch. I haven't seen that many monarchs this year. It's made me really sad. That guy should be on his way down to Mexico. So up in here was one of the later successions of zinnias. They are starting to now bloom. And since we've had warmer weather, we can grow zinnias here and most warm season annuals into December, really until we get our first frost or freeze. Here's some marigolds that are starting to bud up. Back here with some cosmos. This was going to be a whole row of zinnias. I had a lot of seedlings die from the heat and not being watered when I was on vacation. And here are some of the zinnias. These were some of the Bennery Giants, which are really pretty. Over there, I had a lot of the cactuses, which are really big. Really like those. So this was a subsequent succession of zinnias, and then these were actually, I think, like the second succession. The first succession all died because they didn't get watered because I was out of town. And then let's come down here. My favorites have been all of the Queenie Lime. I think that I picked a bunch yesterday, so there's not a ton out here, but I just think getting these like ombre colors are so pretty. This was a mix from Johnny's Select Seeds. Oh, I want that butterfly. Oh, there's a monarch. Oh, don't fly away, friend. I love seeing butterflies out here. If you want butterflies in your garden, just grow zinnias. So let's come out here. These are some more zinnias interspersed with some of the sunflowers. The sunflowers are about done. I mean, I've cut as much as I can to sell to florists. Now this variety is the lemonade. I was pretty disappointed in this one just because they branched so low, and I don't know if it's because maybe it's because I didn't come in and pinch them, but some of the other ones would branch a lot higher, and these branched pretty low, and they're really pretty, but it just made them unusable. So I kind of experimented with starting some of the sunflowers indoors, because when the soil's above 100 degrees, you're just not going to get germination. So I started some indoors, and those ones, they grew fine after I transplanted them, but they got kind of tall and skinny. They weren't quite as strong as like these that were direct sown later once I was able to keep the soil wet and cooled off. So here we are on the other side. This is where I had most of the branching varieties, which grew really nicely and I think are good choices for like a Upic. I like these darker colors for the fall. They're really pretty. If you guys are interested, I can list like the varieties I grew out here. I would say overall I liked pretty much all of them except for that lemonade variety. And then the red pro cuts I grew, their faces all droop downward. So I don't know if that was a reaction to the weather or that's just that variety, because I haven't grown the pro cut red before. So I might try a little bit next year, but if it does the same thing, then I'm going to cut those out because you can't really use downward facing blooms. Another fun little thing I'm going to work on over the winter before we open in the spring is this mural. So I came out and I started this butterfly and just stopped because I just had so much other stuff to do, especially once I realized I wasn't going to open up the Upic to the public. So this is going to be a big monarch butterfly. So I need to come finish that, and then I'll probably add a few other butterflies so people can pick flowers and come over here and take pictures, and just adds a little interest. I thought it would be really fun. A few other things I need to do is finish painting the house. That's another thing that I started a little bit, and then once it got so hot, I was just like, I do not want to be outside doing this. And I got sick of painting, but it's this ugly beige color with like brown accent. So I decided to come in and paint it white, painted the door pink. I think it looks really good so far. I just need to finish, and I am doing it myself because I don't want to pay the money for somebody to do it. And I have a sprayer. I just have to get out here and do it. And then I sprayed this like a dark gray color, little pink door. So I think it looks really cute. I'll snazz up the porch a little bit. And then I'm trying to just add like some bedding plants when I can. So like I put a few lantanas in here. I ordered some roses just to try to make this look a little more pretty and inviting when people come visit. So that's it. That's all the updates. Sorry this video is a little long, but that's everything I've been up to, everything that I'm working on. I'll probably give another update video like this maybe in December, like once I get things planted and you can start to see some things growing. But thank you guys for tuning in. If you're local and you want to stay updated on all of our events and things, then go to my website, summerskyegardens.com. I'll link it below and sign up for our newsletter. I'll be sending one out tomorrow with some info, but Thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.